like
There's a whole other
I've
story.
been single for quite some time. When I start to think of dating a girl, getting to know their favorite color before I ingie box yangu and everything, I'm trying to think of it and I'm already tired. Because I'm like, I have a lot of things to work on. I have money to look. Like, there are a lot of things that comes with the marriage. Okay, say I have found the girl to marry. I have a lot of questions when it comes to wedding. Tell me, how much money do I need to do a wedding? Do I need to like, I see people having a wedding of like 700, 1,000 people. I'm like, is that really necessary? And I'm like,
Do you even know 700 people in your life? You don't. Oh, yeah. Hello and welcome to yet another amazing episode of Munga Swords. My name is Mungai Dennis, aka Evangelical Poet, and this is...
Brian Okoth. Wait, have you started?
Hey, tumeanza.
It's recording.
It's recording.
It has been recording all that while. What? Okay. Can we like start from the top?
See, that was the top.
Oh yeah, sawa.
Hiya, this is Brian Okoth, and I know him from church. I'm not going to call him by titles. I'm going to address him like the youth that he is, so that he can be as generous as possible with information. And yenye to bless.
I'm ready, man. I'm ready. Yeah.
So, to my audience that doesn't know you, who is Brian Okoth in summary?
Well, maybe to start with what I am. Well, I'm fresh from graduating. I graduated last weekend. I was doing media in Sauti Media School, which is under Nairobi Baptist Church. I was doing film and TV production in Africa Digital Media Institute before I deferred. Apart from that, I've done leadership development in Fearless Institute and Fearless Academy, which was initially known as Africa Super 30. Currently, I'm leading MYF in Mavuno Mashariki. MYF means Mavuno Young and Fearless. So I'm leading teenagers and I'm in charge of high school ministries. I'm in charge of basically high schoolers and people who are in their teens. I think I'll end it at that. That.
Yeah, so Brayo, in summary for Nini, in a more plain language, for those of you who don't know him like I do, he's this one guy that helps his pastors with managing the youth. Chachenu imejama youth, ndo?
Yeah, we are. So, Mavuno Mashariki is in Eastlands. And one thing about Eastlands imejaa sana na mayouths. Well, Africa is a youthful nation, but in Eastlands we are so
more youthful.
We are more youthful. Like there are so many youths. We still have, it gives us stress how we can reach like the entire group of youths, because there are youths in different stages. There are those youths who like their goal ni kutoka tu kwa block, their goal ni like make it in life and get out of Islam,
Wapate pesa watoke
ghetto and stuff. But there are those who are like, they have embraced ghetto life. They are ghetto themselves. And there are those who are in between. So ours, headache is like trying to reach this different minded youths, different types of youth in Eastlands. We are still trusting God to give us, the knowledge of how we can do that. Yeah.
Wow, wonderful. Yeah. So, yeah, if you wanted to know him any better, I think amesha mwaga mtama na amewambia anatamani kureach my youth na kuwork na my youth Eastlando. Ndo nini kumake impact,
Yeah.
kuturn the youth in Islando into fearless influencers.
I think one other thing I should mention is my passion. So I have a passion for environment. This is how it came about. I've in my leadership class tulikuwa tunafunzwa about the different, or rather the 6 mountains of influence. So like we have media, we have media and arts, we have church and mission, we have education, we have hospitals, and all these spaces of influence. But I felt like there's no representation of a Christianity, or rather Christianity in environment sector. So I wanted to do like restore the environment to its rightful king, its rightful maker. In church has been able to reach business world by bringing business world to Christ. But I felt like there's a big gap where a lot of the people who, or rather organizations that deal with the environment, they're not doing it in a Christian manner. They're just basically taking care of the environment. But I wanted to do it in such a way that I'm restoring, environment with rightful king. Cause let me stop at that. Wacha nisingie kwa scripture sana nipoteze watu.
Okay. So interesting. So beyond me, I wanted to meet the real, not that that's the fake version of you, but I wanted to meet the youth side of you, like the young man that you are, and the kind of challenges that you face as a believer, and not the kind of challenges that your church faces, the kind of challenges that you face, because you are an individual entity. And kuna vitu zenye, there are things that you always handle, and it's so personal. So, and for example, maybe vile other youths wanakupasive huko Islando. So talk us through that.
I think wow, that's a really interesting question. I don't think I've ever answered that question in that perspective. But I've grown up being this good kid. I've not, and I'm saying this with all humility, I've not been that kind of a kid who is rebellious, who has done drugs, who party animal and all that stuff. I've been a good kid, let me put it that way. So one of the challenges one of the challenges that I've faced over time is that people think my life is boring. Sija kunywa tei, I've not done bang, I've not done all these things, I've not gone to club. So most of the people, when we have like candid conversation, they're like, how do you enjoy life? How do you have fun?
What are the things you do
What
for
are the
fun?
things you do for fun? I'm like, bro, I enjoy eating. I enjoy going out. I believe I can.
So going out aje?
Like visiting new places. Like traveling is one of my like things that I really enjoy doing.
And how often do you travel?
Quite often.
Okay.
Quite often. I mean, the other day I was in Uganda.
Wonderful.
It was, well, I've not apart from Uganda, I don't think I've traveled to other countries yet. I'm about to. So traveling for me is something that brings the fun out of me, again, just going to like serene environments, peaceful, quiet, just to have that me time is something that really builds me up. So just to answer your question, that is one of the challenges that I've gone through, people questioning, how do you have fun? And another challenge that I've had, and this one is more recently, because I did my leadership class in 2021, and ever since I've just seen this, it's called a leadership gap between me and many youths, because especially in my church, because unajua, they perceive me as a pastor, so there's that gap which has,
They've drawn a
yeah,
line,
they've
like
like
they
drawn a
don't see
line.
you as one of them anymore.
Exactly. It's been challenging. I remember there was a time I approached my spiritual father, my mentor, my pastor, Pastor Milton Jumba, and asked him, "Hey, I've realized that youth are drawing away from me. I don't know why that is happening. Sijui mbona inafanyika." And he is actually the one who brought that, name, leadership gap. Like you told me, it's something that I'll experience it as long as I'm a leader. You'll always have that leadership gap whenever you have been put in a place of leadership, and you'll experience not only in church leadership, anywhere you have been put as a leader, there's always that leadership gap that happens. So it's not something that should alarm me. My question was, is it something that I should like try to bridge the gap between me and my fellow youths? I said, at some extent, yes, but some extent, again, don't bring, because when I try to bridge the gap, it will bring familiarity, and familiarity comes with a lot of things. So he told me that leadership gap is not necessarily bad, and again, don't overextend it. So allow it to be, kukuwe na hiyo like hiyo space ya between wewe na mtu, but pia sikuwe sana. I don't know if I'm making sense. So those are like two of the biggest challenges I've had as me as Brian, because I have this friend that nimegrow na yeye, but hiyo time niliekwa kuwa leader, that's when we started like slowly, drastically, yeah. So it's been a challenge. I won't lie, it's been a challenge.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I like the way you've explained it actually, because funny enough, I wouldn't exactly call myself a leader, but I keep encountering those spaces where, because of maybe some advantage I have over other people, there's that barrier they create.
I hear you.
And also because of, well, my pastor keeps on reminding me that I'm not the smartest person in the room, but I keep finding myself sounding like one, and I keep finding it hard to talk about some things because they don't make sense to me in those perspectives. And yeah, so right now I'm actually, the only thing I'm trying to do is to listen, and listening, I think listening is one of the things you can do maybe to avoid that gap being so big.
Yeah.
Because most of us as young people, I feel like we need someone who listens and empathizes with what we are going through, not necessarily congratulate the dramatic version of us, but just tusikize tu. You don't have to agree.
Yeah, I hear you.
Because there's someone in my life whom it's been tricky relating to them as much as I love them, because every time we have a conversation, they have the final say and I have totally no say.
I hear you. Yeah. Allow me to mention something about what you said. I think at one point in life I was where you are. I've been a leader in different spaces before I became a leader in church. And I remember there was a friend of mine. She was called Carol. She's called Carol, and Carol has leadership skills in her. So I found myself like, she was one of the people I admired, how she led people and how she understood people. So one day we are in this space where we are being grouped. We are a lot of youths and we are being grouped in different, to do like different activities. It was more of a competition. So I realized that I've taken the leadership role in my group, but Carol is a bit, chilled. She's a bit relaxed. So I was like, why didn't you take leadership position? I was like, I thought I led those people well. She told me something which changed my life. She told me, you can see lazima lead in every space, There are some spaces where you just lean back and allow other people to thrive. And speaking from your story, when your pastor told you like you are not the smartest in the room, I felt like it's something that happened to me with Carol, because indirectly she told me I'm not the smartest in the room, So I think that for me was one of the most important lessons that I learned as a leader. Sometimes you just need to take a step back, allow other people to lead, and lead from the second chair. Like you can see this. Maybe you have an idea of how you can do that. I mean, something can be done better, but because you're not the leader at that point, you can just call this leader aside, tell him, I think you led so well, but I think there's a room for you to do a better job, and that makes that person become a better leader. I call it leading from the second chair.
Wow, interesting. Well, well. So today I've learned leadership gap. I've learned leading from the second chair. Let's get into something that will ease you up a little bit more. Let's talk about the biggest bug in your head right now, probably also in my own head: marriage.
Wow.
One of the biggest scares in our lives right now as young people, especially people belonging to Mavuno, those who have been attending the gathering, is the encouragement to get married, as you called it, to the wife of our youth.
Yeah.
And I don't know what comes. In fact, even before you go further, what comes into your head when you hear marriage?
Man, that's a really interesting topic. One thing for sure is I knew I wanted to get married when I'm young. I wanted to marry the wife of my youth, so that I could have kids when I'm young. I could connect with my kids better. But man, time flies. Time flies. I mean, right now I'm living. I'm paying rent. I've started adulting. I'm adulting, and adulting can be interesting. And I'm not quite sure I'm in a place where I want to look for a wife right now. But again,
you don't feel ready.
I won't say I don't. I think in every way I'm ready, but I'm not ready. Is that even allowed? Like paradoxically, I feel like
you're ready but not ready.
Yeah. So let me explain. I think that I've acquired knowledge on about, like, I know my identity. I know more about myself. I've really worked on myself. That's what I want to believe. I'm not saying that I'm the best person, but I've really worked on myself, especially in line with marriage. I think I can do life with another person,
with a partner.
With a partner.
Okay.
But again, I'm not sure if marriage is. I believe that marriage is very broad and very intense. For me, I think someone mentioned it, and this is how I viewed it. Someone said marriage is like a prison, because once you enter there, you're not coming back, And
pause hapo. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. So nilikuwa nimekuuliza swali. By the way, this is Brayo's first time on a podcast.
Yeah.
But mumemsikia anaongea kama expert, si ndio?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
take that as a compliment.
Ulikuwa unatuambia what nilikuwa nimekuuliza, like, ukisikia marriage, nini inakuja kwa kichwa yako?
So I talked to you earlier nikakwambia my desire was to like get married young, like marry the wife of my youth, you know. I want to consider myself really blessed. And again, I'll say this with all humility and sensitivity because I know different people come from different background. But I've been raised up in a family where marriage works. I think one of the people, like my role models when it comes to marriage, is my dad and my mom. I've seen them living through marriage. It has not been easy, but they have always
Not
been,
a bed of roses.
It's never a bed of roses.
Na kai imekuwa bed of roses ni ile realization ya kumbe roses have thorns.
Wow.
Have you ever held a rose plant?
Yeah. Actually, that was one of the things that really surprised me. Like, this is such a beautiful flower. Why does it have thorns? You know, because when I went to pick a rose,
You got pricked.
Yeah, I got pricked.
You go to pick a rose and then you get pricked.
That's a line. I think I should try being a poet one time. Anyway, moving on swiftly. So my parents have had quite a good marriage, and I really have a lot of admiration for my dad, because I've been raised up in a neighborhood where I've seen couples fighting, you know, men not rising up to their roles, but all this while my father has been, you know, different. I've seen him. He's a responsible dad. He's been there for us. He will sacrifice himself for us, our education and everything, you know. One time I remember, it hit me that over 3 years my father has not bought, you know, like a pair of shoe. I was in high school by then. And I realized it's because when I was in high school in Form 4, my sister was in Form 3, my brother was in Form 1. So you can imagine all that pressure, paying school fees and everything.
Your sister was in Form 3?
Yes, when I was in Form 4.
Okay.
And my brother was in Form 1. So you can imagine all that pressure. But he's always been there for us. He's supported us, and I've seen him praying for us over and over again. I've seen how he corrects my mother when my mother is wrong. I've seen how he has patience on her. I've seen my mother, like in the like manner, how she's patient with my dad. And I've learned a lot about marriage when I look at them. And then God brings me in this family called Mavuno. And my goodness.
But then when did you join Mavuno?
I joined Mavuno in 2019.
Okay.
I didn't join Mavuno. I joined Altamin Dance Crew. But Altamin had this Mavuno umbrella. So they were practicing in Mavuno Church, you know. So, and that's how I got to... I was invited to do Mizizi. And by the time I noticed, Mavuno was my church. When I was done doing Mizizi, COVID came and church were closed. But for some reason, we met as Altamin Dance Crew in church. We hung out together. And I found a family in Mavuno. And that's so looking at the pastors' marriages, hearing them talk, they were so real and so honest. And as I started getting close to Pastor Milton and Pastor Henry and some of the pastors in Mashariki Network, I realized, oh my goodness, these people have issues in their marriage. They have issues, but they are so real and so open in sharing the issues in their marriage. And for me, that changed my perspective on marriage. I was like, the marriage that the world is telling us, you know, outside here is such a lie, that marriage is a beautiful thing. And, you know, like marriage, once you find like the right person, life will be easy and life will be smooth.
So they've painted a fake picture.
The world has kind of painted a fake picture.
And it wants us to believe that everything has to be easy. And so everything including marriage, and then you have these role models, and the fairy tale does not fairy tale up, because
exactly.
happily ever after
it's a lie. So one thing that the world fed into me was that, like, you have to look for money, you have to be rich for you to, like, find a wife. But when I talk to these people, when I talk to these pastors, they're like, when they're telling me their story when they, like, got married, no one had, like, no one was well off financially. No one knew how the future would be, but they had vision. So they've been telling me, as a man, it's really important for you to have vision for your marriage. So in a nutshell, they've been teaching me about marriage. And then here comes the question, and here comes a man who I really honor and who I really admire and look up to, Pastor M. Like, the Pastor M is the founder and the visionary of Mavuno Church, Mavuno movement of churches. And in this season, it's like, I'm praying for marriage. This started last year, last year's gatherings. So he's praying for marriage. And I mean, I desire marriage. So every time I would go to the front to be prayed for marriage, for me it was like a bank. I'm storing those prayers. When I'll get ready, I know I've been prayed for marriage. I don't know if I'm making sense. So
I get you.
I'm going to,
you're banking.
yeah. So I'm going to be prayed for marriage, but I'm not planning to get married at that right time. I'm like, these prayers will help me sometime in the future when I get the right one. But this year, something strikes me, and, like, even how he's praying this year, this is not something that is like this. I'm not really. It's not really praying for us to bank those prayers so that when we are well enough, we can,
Get married.
yeah, we can get married. And I'm realizing
He's talking of the here and now.
here and now, and for some reason it clicks in my mind. This is not just something that is saying just for the sake of it. This is actually an instruction. I think it hit me hard when I encountered the scripture that says, "He who receives a prophet receives a prophet's reward."